Good morning. Welcome to a morning meeting of the Brevard County Commission, August 24th. We have Mr. John Medrick. Sir, if you would come up and open up our meeting this morning.
Sure. Father, we just come before you this morning. We thank you for Brevard County, Lord. Thank you for the board here. Pray that you would have your hand upon them for the good, Lord, them and their families, that you keep them healthy and safe, Lord, and us as well. Pray that you give them wisdom, Lord, and we live in trying days, difficult circumstances, but we acknowledge your sovereignty, Lord. We're thankful that you've gotten us up this morning. We just ask that you give them wisdom, Lord, in decisions. Thank you that we have the freedom to come and to discuss things, Lord, and to talk through things and bring up concerns, Lord. We thank you for the world and just the country that we live in and for the state of Florida. So, Father, we ask that you'd have your way this morning in each of our lives. We pray that you would just direct each commissioner here and that you would just direct them, Lord. Give them that wisdom and insight that they need. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, sir. We have a quorum. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Commissioner.
Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. We have no minutes for approval. So I'm going to move into resolutions, and we are honored to have Senator Wright in the House. Sir, if you would come forward and take the podium. We especially like you today, so.
Yeah, we like you all the other times too.
We
today,
do, yeah.
You like it better now?
You're a great guy.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning to all of you here. It's really been a great pleasure this year. We had an opportunity in my third year as their senator to bring more of the funds that we all send into the state every year. Our first year, we brought home $1.7 million. Next year, 2.2. This year, almost 13 million we brought back to our district. And I'm very proud today to bring you a check for the reentry portal, My Community Cares, of $612,500. So I'm glad to be able to do that. It's a great program. It gives all these people a second chance to reenter our society. And so I'm happy to bring that here for you today. Is Susan here? Yeah. Would you like to accept this check? Thank you. Thank you, Susan, for all you do. It's a great thing. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we're here to support you and help you in any way that we can. I know you're not bashful, so please ask. Anytime. Thank you all. Great turnout. Thanks from all coming to see me.
Yes.
I know you have better things to do today.
Congratulations.
So, thank you.
Senator Wright, sincerely, thank you for all you do. You're a great advocate up there for us. We appreciate it. Okay, we are going to do a couple more resolutions. Do I have Mr. Kevin Shropshire here? Come on forward, sir. I'm going to read the resolution. If you want to say a few words, you're certainly welcome to. Whereas the Florida Water and Pollution Control Operators Association, organized in 1940, is a nonprofit trade organization that promotes the sustainability of Florida's water utility industry through workforce development to protect the health of Florida citizens and to preserve the state's water resources. And whereas the Florida Water and Pollution Control Operators Association recognizes all those who have played a significant part in operating and maintaining drinking water, wastewater, stormwater systems in Florida by celebrating Florida Water Professionals Month, which applauds their constant efforts to protect our health and environment. Whereas water professionals are often emergency responders during storms and other catastrophic events, working to ensure safe drinking water and safe disposal of wastewater for our communities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Brevard County Board of County Commissioners does hereby proclaim August 21 as Florida Water Professionals Month in Brevard County. Commissioners, I make a motion to approve this.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0, sir.
Thank you, Commissioners. On behalf of approximately 170 members within Brevard County and 5,000 members statewide within the state of Florida of water, wastewater, stormwater, industrial pretreatment, and utility customer relations employees of the cities, counties, and private contractors. We thank you wholeheartedly for your support. We're here to help. We're here as our professions to help keep the environment safe for drinking water, wastewater, stormwater, our residents, and our children's future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Miss Lisa Waters, I'm sorry. I'm going to read this, ma'am, and then you would like a few moments.
Thank you.
Whereas September 17th, 2021 marks the 234th anniversary of drafting the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitution Convention. Whereas it is fitting and proper to give official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate this occasion. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Brevard County Board of County Commissioners do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through September 23rd, 21 as Constitution Week. And we urge all citizens to study the Constitution and reflect the privilege of being an American with all the rights and responsibilities and what that privilege involves. Commission, I make a motion to approve this resolution. Second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, passes 5-0. Ma'am.
Thank you so very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Again, for the record, Lisa Waters with the Abigail Wright Chamberlain chapter. Also with me today are two other daughters, Michelle Abbey, who is our regent for the Abigail Wright Chamberlain chapter, and Dina Albergo from the Cape Canaveral chapter. There are 7 chapters of the Daughters of the American Revolution in Brevard County, and we're very, very pleased to accept this proclamation. As daughters, mothers, sisters, wives, we accept the responsibility of educating our children and our youth regarding the importance of our American history and our Constitution. 2 documents of paramount importance to us are those that we're promoting as part of Constitution Week. The first is the Declaration of Independence, which forged our national identity. And the second is the United States Constitution, which set forth the framework of the federal government that is in use today. While Independence Day is a beloved national holiday, fewer people know about Constitution Week, an annual commemoration of the living document that upholds and protects our freedoms, central to our American way of life. The daughters initiated the observance in 1955, 66 years ago, and later that year, the daughters petitioned the U.S. Congress to recognize the importance of the document, and on August 2nd, 1956, President Eisenhower signed Constitution Week, September 17th to the 23rd each year, into public law. The celebration's goals are threefold. First, to encourage the study of the historical events that led to the framing of the Constitution in September 1787. The second is to inform people that the Constitution is the basis of Americans' great heritage and the foundation of our way of life. And the third is to emphasize our responsibilities as U.S. citizens to protect, defend, and preserve the Constitution. Our chapter is celebrating Constitution Week, Constitution Day specifically, at the Fee Library on the 17th. We'll be there dressed in colonial gown, giving away things for the children, such as pocket constitutions, puzzles, and color books. We hope you can join us there. Thank you again for your support. We sincerely appreciate this important commemoration.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Madam Chair, if we could go through consent first and then call that item, I'd certainly appreciate it.
Are they not here yet?
Not yet, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioners, do we have any consent agenda you'd like to have pulled? Yes, sir.
Ma'am, not pulled, but no, without comment on F9, Madam Chair.
F9.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Commissioners, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Commissioner Smith. Second by Commissioner Isnardi. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, all in favor, say aye, yes. Opposed, no. Okay, it passes 5-0 with Commissioner Tobias and with a no on F9. And I think you still need time, right,
Yes,
sir?
ma'am, if you don't mind, I'll keep an eye out.
Okay, we're going to move into public hearings, and I do have a couple cards. Mr. John Nealon, you're first, sir. And then Joni Terry, you'll be second, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is John Nyland, and I live in Orchard, Florida. I'm here to talk about Brevard's fluoridation program. Before I do that, I'd like to thank the commissioners for their service to this community. My hope is, at this point, that everyone understands that fluoride is a chemical, a medication, and a drug. It is the only chemical added to our public water supply for the purpose of medical treatment. Forcing people to ingest fluoride is a massive betrayal of public trust. As crazy as all of this sounds, the truth is that it gets worse. It gets more absurd, more irrational, and more illogical. Commissioners, we are using our public water system to deliver a drug in the hope that it might reduce tooth decay for some people. Tooth decay is neither contagious nor life-threatening. So here is where it gets really crazy. Every year, our water treatment plant dumps tons and tons of a toxic waste byproduct called hydrofluorosilicic acid, also known as fluoride, into our public water systems. 99.5%, 99.5% of that drug that we put into our public water system does not go to its intended use. We wash our clothes with fluoride, we wash our dishes with fluoride, we shower with fluoride. We give it to our dogs, we give it to our cats. 99.5% of that drug that we put into our public water does not go to its intended use. It gets dumped back into our rivers and lagoons. What I am about to say is not in the least bit hyperbolic language. We are operating the world's most inefficient drug delivery system ever devised by mankind. 99.5% of the drug does not go to its intended use. This kind of action is well beyond irrational. Thank you very much.
Mr. Nyland, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Oh, there it goes.
I think
It's on.
oh, you're on. Never mind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here. I have a question for you. With regard to fluoride and its uses, when you buy a rinse in a drugstore that has fluoride in it, is that the same thing or better or worse than getting it in the water supply? My point is that if you have an option, in other words, if there's no fluoride in your water and you would like to take advantage of fluoride, whatever it can do to enhance the health of your teeth, can you not just go and get some kind of a fluoride rinse? And then, of course, you don't swallow it, you spit it out for a good reason, I would think. So that's my question. How efficient is it if you have a mouthwash?
The CDC has said publicly, that fluoride is more effective when used topically, meaning if you put it in your toothpaste, brush your teeth with it and spit it out, or whether you use a mouthwash. So the CDC has said this. So to ingest fluoride, and when you ingest it, it goes into your blood system. And any toothpaste that you see on the shelf has a warning that says, look, if your child takes more of this toothpaste than he is brushing his teeth with, if he gets a hold of the tube of toothpaste and he swallows it, you're to immediately call the Poison Control Center. The FDA was required all manufacturers of toothpaste to put that on their label because they understood that by ingesting fluoride, there was much more danger to a child. So bottom line is, yes, everyone can continue to use fluoride just as they do in Western Europe. The only thing is they have a choice. They buy a toothpaste, a mouthwash that has fluoride in it, and they use it, and they don't ingest it, and they use it topically.
So another case where education is important. If people know that fluoride is good for your teeth, and you have the option, the choice is the key word here, of either having it or not having it, you can make that choice and go make the purchase at a drugstore.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Nyland. I just want to also note, I did the survey and I received 24% of people wanting fluoride in their water. So I left it open for a little bit longer just in case, but I'm getting like maybe one or two in. So I think the will of the people is pretty much not in favor of fluoridating their water. And I agree, Commissioner Smith, there's other ways to do it. In some nations, they do fluoridated salt, so you can go buy it on your own. But I have a fundamental problem with forcing people to take any medication. Some might be good for you, some might not, but it should always be your choice, especially when you ingest it in your person. So thank you for coming forward. There's many people that feel the way you do, and I appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Joni Terry?
It's actually Joanne Terry.
Sorry.
That's fine. Yes, my name is Joanne Terry, and I live in South Patrick Shores. So I've been watching these meetings since the beginning of the year, and I want to say how impressed I am at how Commissioner Pritchett manages these meetings. It is because of my respect for her that I was so confused about your comments regarding your MIMS water survey. To be clear, I am not here to comment on whether or not there should be fluoride in the water. I am here because I don't want the way that she is interpreting her survey to become precedent for how this commission might interpret public opinion in the future. So as of the last meeting, she said that there was a 32% response rate for the survey, and that although there were more votes in favor of fluoride than not, that the votes only accounted for 22%. Today she said 24% of the survey sent, far below her supermajority threshold. But that's not how we would normally interpret survey results. Normally, 22% of yes votes with a 32% response rate is a 68% supermajority of responses in favor of fluoride. So I think the 32% response rate is actually pretty good, given that it's the middle of summer. In fact, our 2019 municipal election turnout was only 15%. Even the general election did not have 100% turnout. So in every one of those elections, as a normal survey, we don't assume votes are no votes. We don't assume votes for anybody who didn't vote, and we don't require a 100% turnout to define a majority. So I believe that most of us have felt the disappointment, frustration, and even anger of being on the losing side of a fair vote. But our republic depends on our officials respecting our democratic norms, even if they personally disagree with the results. Now, I know this survey is not an official vote. It's not an actual ballot measure. It's not a normal election. She initiated the survey. She can decide the rules. She can even ignore the results. So if Commissioner Pritchett has no intention of putting the fluoride back in the water, then so be it. But please don't taint our democratic norms in an attempt to make it look fair. I commend Commissioner Pritchett for being honest and transparent about the results. But if a 100% turnout were required to score a majority, let alone a supermajority, nothing would ever be decided by the people. Thank you.
Ma'am, I'm going to respond to that at the end of the meeting. I'm trying not to do a lot of public comment when people come up. So if you want to stick around,
I will.
I would be glad to respond to that.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Sandra Sullivan?
Sandra Sullivan, South Patrick Shores. Honorable Chair and Commission, I come before you today with a very serious matter. At the end of this, I hope that you will agree with me that we need an ethics investigation, and perhaps this even go to cooperation with the state for a grand jury investigation of CFX. You'll remember I came in May at the zoning meeting and talked about the documents that had come to light about CFX, and former Commissioner Jim Barfield, also emails from the city, and the perception that there was an attempt to put undue influence on a state board called the FCT Governing Board to change the outcome and to have, because the city was making controversial changes to the Hightower Preserve, which I've advocated for 2 years. It's much worse than that. I did a records request for Split Oak, and because I couldn't understand why CFX was making these requests to put somebody on the board. It turns out for the two routes that would come to Brevard as the third route, which Commissioner Smith referenced in his letter to the state reps, that both D and F routes go through a forest called Split Oak, which is one of the earliest FCT sites generated. In order to do that, like Hightower, because it's controversial, it would go to the FCT Governing Board. So to try to put local influence on that board by a state entity, which is CFX, is very concerning. Now, if you go back and you look up in 2013, there was a grand jury investigation of CFX, and they found corruption. And I believe we have that going on here now, and there needs to be an ethics violation. So in front of you are the documents. I would bring attention to the potential conflict disclosure form, section 6, which outlines the particular ethics concern I have. So have you used or attempted to use your position with CFX or any property or resource which may be within your trust to secure a special privilege, benefit, or exemption for you or others? The special privilege was putting his friend Jim Barfield, who sits on the Environmental Stewardship Committee with CFX.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's the end of public comment. Commissioner Lober, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If it's all right, I'd like to do something a little atypical. My wife actually attends the same yoga studio as Miss Raymond, so I've asked her if it's all right with you, Madam Chair, if she could read the resolution today.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have the resolution itself, and I'll read from it?
One of us will.
Okay, how about that? I'm so sorry.
Thanks, Eden. I try to be all electronic.
It's good to have you here today.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. I'm Rebecca Lober, and it's my privilege and my honor to present this resolution to my friend and fellow colleague at the yoga studio that we attend, Hot Yoga on the island, in Merritt Island. And I'm very proud of her accomplishments and her dedication to her practice. She aspires and inspires all of us at the studio. This is a resolution congratulating Holly Raymond on placing second at the United States Yoga Federation 2021 USA Yoga National Championship. Whereas Holly Raymond, a Merritt Island resident, began training as a ballerina at the mere age of 2. And whereas Holly began practicing yoga in 2014 to strengthen her ballet practice and recover from disordered eating, anxiety, and extreme burnout. And whereas Holly practices yoga to help her find a balanced approach to life and finds yoga improves not only her physical strength, but also her mental and emotional well-being. And whereas in 2021 that is the first year Holly competed as a yoga athlete. And whereas Holly is coached by Suzanne Elliott here, who's videotaping me, of Hot Yoga on the Island located in Merritt Island. And whereas Holly demonstrated the 6 required postures in her routine: a forward bend, a backward bend, inversion, lift, twist, and traction posture. And whereas these postures exhibit the core characteristics of yoga poses: balance, strength, and flexibility. And whereas Holly placed second at the USA Yoga Regional Competition, qualifying her to advance to the USA Yoga National Competition in Louisville, Kentucky. And whereas on Saturday, August 7th, 2021, Holly competed in the USA Yoga National Championship and qualified for advancement to the final round of competition. And whereas on Sunday, August 8th, 2021, Holly competed in the final round of the USA Yoga National Championship and placed second in her division. This consists of women in ages of 18 to 49. And whereas Holly came within approximately 0.002%, that's 0.01 points, of placing first. And whereas Holly is deserving of recognition for her dedication to the practice of yoga and representing the residents of Brevard County at the USA Yoga National Championship. Now, therefore, be it resolved by a unanimous vote of the Brevard County Board of County Commissioners, Brevard County congratulates Holly Raymond on placing second at the USA Yoga National Championship and recognizes her as Brevard County's most flexible resident. Done and ordered and adopted this 24th day of August 2021. Congratulations, Holly.
Madam Chair, before we make a motion, I think it's appropriate for us to have a little more info up here. I know Logan has a 3-minute video But if Holly's willing, perhaps we can have her demonstrate. Is that all right? It takes about 3 minutes, and I promise you, if it's not worth it, you guys can glare at me and say mean things.
It's
Is that fair?
impressive. I can do nothing like what she does. I promise you, it's impressive.
Then you can determine whether you want to approve the resolution or not.
Madam Chair, do you approve of Holly
certainly.
demonstrating her routine? Thanks.
Please. Yeah.
Rebecca, you take her class.
All right, you're next.
No.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve.
You have a motion to approve, a second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Commissioner Lober, sir.
I think all of it's been said, and actions speak louder than words. And frankly, I was kind of amazed, number one, that a human being can move in that way, and number two, I actually was feeling a little pain watching it. So I really am rarely at a loss for words, as I think everyone up here will acknowledge. But you really did it all. You said it all. Congratulations.
A lot of hard work there. A
Incredible.
lot of strength.
Commissioner Smith, if you want to get in on this one too, I know you're similarly impressed.
Yes, I am.
Come on, get down here.
We'll get a picture of you all together, and then would it be appropriate to get the entire studio crew in?
Yeah.
Follow-up picture?
Everyone good there, Madam Chair?
I was remiss to, I didn't acknowledge Holly's mom is here and sister, so thank you for coming this morning.
I think we've had our exercise for today.
I'm worn out.
I don't know if that counts.
Thank you, ma'am. See, have a good day, Rebecca. All right, we're going to move into our public hearings. We have item H1.
Good morning, Board. This is a public hearing for an intersection signalization construction contract for North Wickham Road at Deer Lakes Drive. It's in District 4, proposing $200,000 of a county contribution to be provided from the Central Mainland Benefit District. The Board, this is proposing the Board would authorize the county manager to execute any subsequent contract-related documents associated with this action, as well as budget change requests. There are 5 considerations in support of a public interest determination, along with the county's contribution of a maximum of $200,000. The city of Melbourne would also be contributing towards this project, and the developer is obligated to pay any difference to make this project a reality.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes, Madam Chair, this would be a real asset to the traffic patterns and the safety of the people in District 4 on Wickham Road. So I would approach the board to approve this.
Have a motion to approve. Second by Commissioner Tobias. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item H2, sir. Ma'am.
Good morning. Agenda item H2 is a public interest determination for wetland impacts for a Tractor Supply commercial site at the northwest corner of Pineda Causeway and Wickham Road. The public interest is required to address the wetland impacts. The no net loss code is met through a mitigation bank. The site is along a mitigation qualified roadway, making it eligible for this public interest determination. And the benefits listed include jobs, sales tax, and property tax.
Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I would make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Zonka. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item H3, ma'am.
Thank you. Item H3 is a public hearing to extend the temporary moratorium on the new application of biosolids to lands within Brevard County. This is the 4th extension and is proposed to continue due to ongoing research by the state regarding strengthening the existing state rules.
Do I have a motion to approve, Commissioners?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Zonka, second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item H4. You do? Oh, 'cause health damage.
I just want to let the board know I have to abstain from this one, so I've filed the correct disclosure because I work for the employer that submitted the application.
Item H4 is a request for the board to conduct a public hearing to consider revisions to Chapter 62, Article 6, Section 62, 2110 to allow a maximum floor area ratio of 1.75 in conjunction with planned unit development, zoning classification, and commercial future land use designation. Any questions, we're happy to answer.
Commissioner Lober, this is your district, right? Correct?
It primarily would impact mine in terms of the immediate future. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve, second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0 with Commissioner Zonka abstaining. Item H5.
This is District 4's amendment to the Brevard County Code, Chapter 14, to modify the nuisance provisions regarding animal control, barking in particular, moving it from 30 minutes to 15 minutes. With me today is Assistant County Attorney Alexander SS, who worked on this provision, if you have any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Smith,
Yes, I would like to make a motion to approve H5.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Tobias. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Passes 5-0. Item H6.
This is another amendment to the animal control ordinance. This is to include in the definition of sutures, staples, and wound glue. Again, Mr. SS is here to answer any questions.
Commissioner Smith,
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to approve H6.
motion to approve. Second by Commissioner Tobias. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item H7.
Good morning again, Commissioners. This is a resolution for an amendment to the exchange agreement and right-of-way use agreement between NASA Investment Partners and Brevard County in District 5 for NASA Boulevard and Wickham Road. The board in regular session on July 23rd, 2019 approved and executed an agreement with NASA Exchange Partners related to stormwater retention in the area of the southeast quadrant at the intersection of NASA Boulevard and Wickham Road. This agreement updates specific easements as it pertains to updated site conditions and design related matters.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Zonka?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item H8.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is a resolution establishing user fees for the fiscal year 2021-2022 for the Melbourne-Tillman Water Control District. The rates are established within the 1.234% change in CPI for the residential and commercial, and there's no change in the agricultural rates. And a public hearing was held within the district on August 10th, 2021.
Have a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, I believe there's a card on that before you call that.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I thought it was questions only. Oh, my gosh. Mr. Robert Kemklowski? Oh, yeah, he did it. Okay.
Do I correct you guys or you guys?
You can, if you have something to hand out. Thank you.
All right, on August 10th, 2021, a special hearing occurred for the Melbourne-Tillman Water District for its annual water usage increase. This meeting occurred at 1951 Malabar Road, Northwest Palm Bay, Florida, 32907. Fred Pope Regional Park, the Ted Whitlock Community Center. The meeting started at 5:30. There were two addresses listed, wrong address. One published with a Viera address, Brevard Legistar, and one displayed with a Palm Bay address. Again, this meeting had two addresses listed, one in Viera and one in Palm Bay, Florida. This has occurred the last 4 years. And in 2020, there's literally a blue ink check mark or X mark trying to erase that address as attached. Taxation without anticipated publication, acronym TWAP, explicitly stated on the second page of the agenda dated August 10, 2021, the meeting will be broadcast live on Space Coast Government Television, SCGTV, on Spectrum Cable Channel 499, Comcast, AT&T, and Uverse. And also will be played during the coming months of its 24-hour video server. I have not been able to locate one video in the last 4 years of rate increases. Again, all previous agendas going back 4 years have two addresses and no video. Floor motions during board reports. I say all that to say this. The water usage increase, although mundane and relatively gradual in nature, does not adequately represent the items that occur during floor motions. County Manager Frank Abadi, the appointed county manager, presented a floor motion during his board report. And it was passed, yet all I can extrapolate from that floor motion was what I believe had something to do with allocation of ARPA funds to the ambulatory services. I have spoken to Ms. Bentley, county attorney, and requesting more information in public records and was diverted to the public records liaison, and I have yet to receive even the costs associated with that service for those public records. I have tried to contact D3, Commissioner Tobias' office, left a message with no return phone call. If this was broadcast as stated, this would not be such an issue. Quorum established, yet D3 absent. Last but not least, D3 has been absent 3 out of the last 4 years. In 2018, Commissioner Pritchett states that since D3 was absent and no vote in the affirmative is required, another meeting will need to take place. Items attached. Also on May 6, 2021, Tobias complained that staff was being unfairly worked since they are salary, yet he is absent during a scheduled meeting that could alleviate that burden. And I quote, Thursday, May 6, 2021, at the BOCC zoning meeting. Commissioner Tobias stated that this is one of the first times they do not have International Association of Firefighters here complaining about things, but one of them is mandatory overtime. He asked the board to take in consideration staff here that gets paid a salary, not overtime. There are folks out here bitching and complaining about getting time and a half pay, yet the county is turning around for folks and getting a flat rate and having them here until 7:30. For what amount to... Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Tobias?
Madam Chair, the increase on this is 1.234, which is CPI. So I support the increase as it comes in at or below CPI as always.
Is that a motion, sir?
Sorry, Madam Chair.
No.
Yeah, motion to approve.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Tobias, second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. We are moving into new business. We're moving into item I1.
Good morning. It's requested that the Board of County Commissioners authorize the Solid Waste Management Department to coordinate and proceed to initiate and complete the full construction of the US 192 Solid Waste Management Facility, including construction of a scale house and the first of the Class 3 landfill disposal cells. It's also requested that the board approve any budget change requests that may arise from this project and authorize bidding, award of contract, and execution of construction contracts by the chair for all aspects of construction of this project.
Thank you, sir. Commission?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Smith. Second by Commissioner Tobias. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Passes 4-1 with Commissioner Zonka in objection. And I hate it. Item I2.
Commissioners, this is the county attorney's agreement. For Abby, we successfully negotiated agreements similar to the terms of the existing county attorney agreement. And salary was commensurate with the current salary for the county attorney, as well as the CPI increase that will be coming back that she'll be receiving in October. And so we're looking for the board's approval of the agreement with an effective date of November 1st.
Motion to approve, Lober.
Motion by Commissioner Lober.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item I3.
The Solid Waste Management Department is requesting that the Board of County Commissioners approve the methodology of tracking and disbursement of financial incentives for legitimate service complaints of missed garbage, recycling, and yard waste pickups by Waste Management. Staff have determined that the most effective way to disperse the incentives would be similar to refunding a landfill gate account, where the monthly solid waste would provide finance with the names, addresses, and requested check amounts for individual legitimate complaints. Staff have determined the internal costs for data tracking and check disbursement amount to $5.47 per check. As such, a $20 incentive for a phone complaint would result in a check for $14.53, and a $25 incentive for an electronically logged complaint would result in a check for $19.53.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to go on record that I understand the emotion behind this, but I don't agree that it's worthwhile from the standpoint that we're trying to incentivize people to complain. We have a contract in place already that provides for fines and procedures. And as long as we follow that and we still get our point across that if solid waste, if in this case, waste management is deficient in picking up their trash, then they will be appropriately fined according to the contract that they signed with us. So I just think this is going to require more staff hours, and I don't really see any great benefit. So I will oppose this.
Commissioner Lober?
Just briefly, I'm not going to reiterate everything I've said in the past about this because I think both Commissioner Tabaya and I have kind of gone on and on and on about this on record. I do want to highlight one thing, though. The fact is, folks don't know who to complain to. I don't mean everyone, but I mean a large swath of the population. The folks that get fed up because of continuing issues with service, poor service in particular, missed pickups, whether it be garbage, yard waste, or otherwise, oftentimes will call Waste Management directly and not the county. If they call the county, they don't know who to call on the county side. The fact is, I know a lot more folks who on the front end didn't start by reaching out to the county, who only after having had either continuing issues or a very protracted, unresolved single issue, finally reached out. This is something I think that will generate more publicity. I don't want to incentivize people to complain if there's no benefit to receiving those complaints. But if the benefit to the county is knowing and having a better idea in terms of how widespread or how localized a particular issue may be, also allowing us to collect those liquidated damages that Commissioner Smith referred to, there's a benefit. They're going to be, in all likelihood, if you look at this, they're variables that are unknowable. But within a reasonable degree of certainty, I think it's fair to say that the number of complaints will be substantially increased if we incentivize them. And by extension, the liquidated damages will be substantially increased if we incentivize them. I'm not looking for people to do anything that's illegitimate, to make up a complaint. Obviously, all of this is verified. I think that's been said every time this proposal has been brought up, either by Commissioner Tabaya or myself. But I think this is something that needs to be put in place. I do appreciate that Waste Management has made a number of different initiatives and efforts over the recent past to try to ameliorate the problem. That said, it's still not where it needs to be. I hope in reality that we don't have to use this hardly at all because service is great. And if that's the case, this becomes moot. But this is sort of it amounts to a protection for us where if service doesn't improve to a reasonable level, this is something that hopefully should better incentivize them or negatively incentivize them with respect to missing pickups. So I'm in support of it. If Commissioner Tabaya or anyone else wants to make a motion, it's got my full support.
Sir, Commissioner Tabaya?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And while I agree with the reasoning of Commissioner Smith, I disagree with the conclusion. His first point was we need to follow the contract. So with your permission, Madam Chair, may I ask County Attorney a question?
Of course, sir.
Would we go through with this program? Would this run afoul in any way, shape, form, fashion, or function with the current contract that we have?
No.
Thank you. The second point Commissioner Smith said, another good one, is we got our point across. So I'm going to bounce, Madam Chair, this one to Mr. Mulligan. Thank you. Since the board last discussed this, we've discussed it twice previously. Has there been a marked improvement in service performed by Waste Management under the contract, to your knowledge?
We have, just this morning, we received the reports and finished them up. If you want to compare June's reports from Waste Management, they've gone from 161 complaints for legitimate complaints to 42 complaints in July. That's from June to July. And then on our side, we've gone from 129 complaints in June to 93 complaints in July. So it's fewer people are calling Waste Management and 20 fewer people called the county.
Okay, so again, the second one was 120 to 90, is that correct?
It was 129 to 93.
To 93. Okay, so we've seen a reduction of a little bit more than 30%.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, Madam Chair, follow up, what were we prior to the new contract?
It was,
What's the running average is what I'm going towards.
Normal.
the running average was low. I don't have the exact number. It started getting worse in the 7th year of the last contract, which is in 2019, 2020.
Commissioners, over a period of time, we were typically seeing around 50, about 50 or so over a period of time per month. And so we're well above that.
So Madam Chair, thank you, Mr. Denninghoff. So though we're down 30%, we're still almost double what the running average would be prior to that 7th year. Is that a fair
Yes.
assessment? Again, this is not after one time, not after a second time. This would be after our third time, Madam Chair. So again, I agree with Commissioner Smith that we need to get our point across. What I disagree with is whether or not we actually are getting our point across. So for that reason, I'd like to make a motion for this program to go forward.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Commissioner Smith.
I just wanted to make one comment. I think that it behooves us to look at the total picture, and I agree that these numbers are higher than they should be, but I think the numbers also indicate that there's been a terrific effort on the part of Waste Management to improve the numbers, and we know that there's an awful lot of reasons that those numbers have inflated, not the least of which is COVID-19. Commissioner Lober made the point that people weren't complaining, they didn't know where to complain to. My question would be, how are we going to change that? In other words, if we change the process, how are we going to get the word out that there's a different number to call or there's a different way to complain?
May I, Madam Chair?
Do it. Let me do Commissioner Zonka because you're going to be.
Well, let me
after
make
that.
one more
Otherwise, you'll
comment.
jump into her 3 more times. Yeah, okay.
So anyway, I think the number is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys have something like 2 million touches a month. Is that correct? So when you consider the amount of touches that they have, which is the amount of trash cans that they touch and addresses that they approach, 2 million, and if we've got 30 or 300, it's still a pretty minuscule number. So I just want you guys to look at the big picture.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Zonka.
I don't like any of this. I mean, but again, I think we were kind of put in a spot where we had to address it. I'm happy to look at it in the future. I don't have an issue with the way this is written now, but I'm happy to revisit it in the future if service does improve. But I think that something has to be done because I don't think, at least in the beginning, I don't think that, I mean, other than our contact, Dina, again, has been amazing to try to help as much as possible. And other than the things that they're doing now, I don't think in the beginning that we were being listened to. So I'm okay with putting this in place now, okay to revisit it later if service does come back to the level that we expect and that is promised in the contract.
Okay, I agree with you, Commissioner Zonka. I think I'm going to vote to approve this. I would like if someone would make a motion that we would come back in December in 3 months and look at it and see if that delta is starting to return back to the normal delta of 50 a month. I think that would be fair. I do believe y'all are working hard. I think we took a little longer to work hard. So I think that's what I would like to see if you guys would consider that in your motion. I do think we would need to work on the logistics. Commissioner Smith, you're correct. I know Commissioner Lober is going to help us a minute with this on how we're getting these calls to Waste Management with the most benefit to our community. So we need to work on that. I don't know necessarily how to do that, but we had a discussion about that yesterday. So I'm hoping you will get with staff and come up with a good solution for that for our community. Commissioner Lober.
A couple of thoughts. First, with respect to Dina and Pete, I don't have anything negative to say about them. I don't want my support of this particular agenda item to reflect negatively on them. The fact of the matter is Waste Management is a gigantic company. I don't know that they have at the local level the recognition from the higher ups that they need in order to be given the resources to fully resolve this. My hope is that this will get the point across to those at a different level in the organization. So it's not a slight to either of them. They've been nothing but professional in my dealings with them. And when there have been issues, they certainly have both been very responsive. Now, that said, in terms of how we get the message across, the simplest way to answer that and the quickest way is money. Money gets the message across. Just as we had folks find out through the ether about the various CARES Act programs that we put in place simply by funding them and making that available, this I view in a similar vein. If you have money available to people for doing something that doesn't take a lot of effort on their part, I can't help but believe that that's going to get across to a wide swath of the community. Whether we have Dawn Walker, and I don't think there's any reason not to do a press release, I can't but imagine that Space Coast Daily, Florida Today, and other media outlets will pick up on this because this is something that I would think is newsworthy to a degree. I'm happy to go and drum up more publicity for it if the board wants me to do that. I'm also happy to sit back and keep quiet about it if the board wants me to do that as well. I have no problem, Commissioner Pritchett or Chair Pritchett, if Commissioner Tobias is okay modifying his motion to include revisiting this item or having an update in December. I'm happy to let my second stand with that if that's what he wants to do. But I don't think that we're going to have any real level of difficulty getting this publicized. Does that mean that 100% of the people in Brevard will figure out about it? No, I don't think so. But I think it's going to be dramatically more that are made aware than perhaps what the concern is reflecting.
Commissioner Tobias?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I believe your suggestion is warranted, and I would modify my motion to revisit the results when they're published in December,
Second
Madam Chair.
stands.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I have a motion and a second. I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Passes 4-1 with Commissioner Smith in opposition. We're going to move into item I4. Commissioner Tobias.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to thank the board for approving my proposal for the voluntary vaccine incentive program. An update, staff is already underway in administering the program, which will close September 24th. So there's still time giving out employees who don't already have the vaccination to go ahead and get it. Currently, and I think this as of yesterday, more than 780 employees have already signed up. Now, these are employees of all 5 county commission districts. It's my understanding that a payment will go out over electronically. And I have included in the packet a letter thanking the employees for their hard work, service, and dedication. I thought it would be nice, since this is people that have sacrificed in all 5 of our districts, to put all 5 of our names down. There would be no additional cost, as this is an electronic email. The email is attached, and I wanted to get everyone's opinion, thoughts before this was attached, Madam Chair. Again, I appreciate everyone for giving me the flexibility to go ahead and do this. I just wanted everyone to be able to take credit for allocating these resources to the hardworking people in our staff.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Tobias. Commissioners?
Is that a motion?
Sure, I just motion
I'll
to
second.
approve the letter attached.
Okay, have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you, sir. Item J1.
Good morning, Commissioners. This item is being brought to you by the Economic Development Zone, and it's a public purpose project to stimulate economic development. We had a strategic plan that was adopted almost 10 years ago by the County Commission, which identified programs for us to operate through the zone. One of those was what we call the Strategic Initiatives section. And in that, it specifically called us to seek out public-private partnerships to pull off infrastructure development projects that could create jobs. Working with the city of Titusville, the zone has identified an area of need that would seem to fit the bill for doing an infrastructure project with one of these public-private partnerships. It's a 5,000 linear foot stretch of US 1 that goes south of Cheney Highway down to the NASA Causeway that lacks sanitary sewer. We commissioned the Regional Planning Council to do an economic impact analysis to kind of give us an idea of what the potential was if we were to pull off this project off and get the sanitary sewer line in place. And they documented in a report that was in your agenda packets that approximately 600 new jobs would be created and more than $40 million in personal income would be generated by both the direct and indirect job holders. This proposed project would also reduce some capacity on a section of existing line up in Titusville, where the city has been concerned about what might happen during periods of major storms or a severe rain that they would have. So there could also be something that with this project that would help the health of the lagoon. Tremcor Construction of Florida, which does have an interest in developing one of the real estate parcels along this corridor, but cannot because of the lack of sewer, has filed an application with the zone to serve as developer, and they would enter into this public-private partnership under that strategic initiative section. They would build the line and then deed that over to the city of Titusville, which would maintain the line, and then they would seek reimbursement for the project. A couple of notes we wanted to emphasize. The first is that this project would be funded out of the city's tax increment financing fund. You may recall that when the zone was created, there were actually two of these tax increment funds or TIF funds created, one for the county, one for the city. This would be using the city's TIF, if you will. We've gone before the Titusville City Council. They've approved the project unanimously. So this is what they want to use that city TIF money for. And the other thing I wanted to mention too is that the county is not party to the agreement that was in your agenda packets. What the county is being asked to do is to acknowledge that the city wants to use the funds for this project. Back when the district was created, it was decided not to create a separate district that would administer the city TIF and another district that would administer the county TIF. There was just one district created that would manage both of those accounts, and it was set up as a dependent special district under the county commission. So we're coming back to you to get the acknowledgement. One last thing, I'd just like to thank Eden and her staff because they spent a lot of time. We've been working on this project for about 18 months, and they communicated extensively with the City of Titusville's legal staff in crafting this interlocal agreement that's part of the agenda package. So I really do appreciate the work that they put into it. And I'll see if you have any questions.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Tobias? Oh, Old Light, Commissioner Lober.
I've got a new one here.
Like this one.
So first, Madam Chair, if you want this to go through, since this disproportionately impacts D1, I'm happy to support it. But I do want to add a thanks to the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council and also give the commission a heads up that sometime in the next month or two, there's going to be an agenda item added by my office that essentially is an interlocal agreement that will keep the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council operating with our involvement with it, maintaining the status quo in the event that the enabling legislation is struck in Tallahassee. You all may recall that we had addressed this a little while back in terms of there being efforts in Tallahassee to do away with the enabling legislation. This is something that essentially would enable that body to continue functioning in the way that it functions. But just simply a heads up, if you're happy with it, Commissioner Pritchett or Chair Pritchett, I'm happy to go ahead and make a motion to approve.
Yes, sir. It's one of my favorite ones.
All right, I'll go ahead and move to approve.
I have a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Zonka. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passes 5-0. Item J2. Commissioners, this is in your packet. This is one of the items that I was approached with from Ms. Weatherman. They have an opportunity to probably get an immense amount of funding here soon to help alleviate some stress as far as NASA and the lagoon. A feasibility study needs to be done first, which there is a large grant for this. It's just got to get put in as a letter from us so that the federal agencies will consider the grant. So in your packet, there's a letter. It covers 80%, 20% will still need to be covered. Ms. Weatherman feels like she can probably find almost all the other funds. So if you guys are good with this.
Motion, Lober.
A motion by Commissioner Lober to approve the letter.
Yes, ma'am.
Second by Commissioner Zonka. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, we are done with old business and new business, and we're going to move into public comments. And Mr. Robert Klimkowski, sir.
And as he's coming up, Madam Chair, I just want to point out that the packet that was given, I've provided a copy to the clerk's office, so it should be in the minutes for this meeting.
The packet 4.
That the gentleman brought up earlier when
Oh,
he came
thank
up
you.
for the first public
Thank you,
comment
sir.
section, just so that everyone's aware it'll be part of the minutes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, I didn't get to finish my full comment, and that's my bad. Sorry about that. That was my cadence and volume. I'm a little nervous. This is my first time speaking and addressing the board. So I'm going to keep it very simple. Just some issues that I have with government transparency. There were 2 addresses and taxation without anticipated publication. You guys said you were going to broadcast it live for the last 4 years, and it hasn't been. My mother's disabled out in D5 off Greenboro, and how is she supposed to watch it if you guys say you're going to broadcast it and have 2 addresses? How is she supposed to attend that public meeting? And then floor motions during board reports. Commissioner DeBaio was right. This is a very gradual and needed increase, but the floor motions during board reports aren't. So if we're going to pass a floor motion during board reports with about 10 staff members there, maybe 2 members of the public in a room this size with 2 chairs behind the commissioners and not an opportunity for the public to really be present. I still don't know what that board report was. The floor motion had something to do with ARPA funds and ambulatory services, if that could be further explained. And of course, the Laws of Florida 2001-336, Section 12, subsection 8, B and C state that Commissioner Tobias and Commissioner Zonka, I believe, both have to be present during those meetings. So if there's 2 meetings, why even have a first one? If this is that public hearing that should occur, why have the first one? I understand with sunshine laws, you have to have a meeting, a public hearing to even talk about it, but why be absent during it? And why be absent 3 out of the last 4 years? If there's an answer to that, I'd love to know. I'm confused a little bit, especially since Commissioner Tobias said that he'd like to have the staff be treated properly and the funds that are given to them allocated properly. So if he's having the staff come to one meeting and not being present and have to have another meeting, that doesn't seem right to me. And I had more to say, but in all honesty, it's not very important, and it'll be in the minutes, as Commissioner Lober said. So thank you, and that's all I have to say on that.
Gentlemen, are these old lights up here?
New one, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Tobias, old light.
Sorry. Yes.
Commissioner Lober.
Just real briefly, pardon me, and I'm not going to touch on everything that the gentleman had mentioned, but I think he does raise a valid point with respect to public access to Melbourne Tillman. I don't know whether it's feasible to make it something that we broadcast live, given that we don't have the same equipment there that we do here. But if the rest of the commission is okay with this, and if you want it to be a motion, then you can consider it a motion. I think we should make efforts to at least have an audio and video recording of the meeting broadcast within 72 hours, 48 hours, whatever you all think is reasonable after the meeting concludes. I do think that's something that's appropriate. As far as the floor motions, obviously, I think there's something that, unless they're exigent, we probably are better served avoiding them in board reports. That said, I don't want to make a motion as to that, simply because I don't want to limit us in the event that something comes up that really has to be dealt with quickly. And one last item, as far as the reason for the meeting there, I believe that we're legally required to have one meeting within the district itself. My understanding, and I invite Ms. Bentley to correct me, I see you're nodding though. So yeah, that's my understanding. As far as it coming back here though, obviously there's a lot more attention that this meeting receives, and we have, instead of 2 or 3 commissioners, I should say 3 commissioners, we have 5 commissioners. I've gone to all of the Melbourne Tillman meetings since I've been elected. I agree, there are very few people that are there. So I think to the degree that we can record it and broadcast it, there's no reason not to. Thank you. So if that's all right with you all, I mean, I can make it a motion, or if you guys are just okay with it and staff's comfortable, maybe we can have someone, even if it's using a cell phone, to record it by video.
Commissioner Zonka.
Yeah, or we can, if as long as it's within the district, right, according to the statute, then we can maybe have it at a more convenient location. Because it seems like staff or commission has a difficult time at times because it's kind of out in the boondocks, and I think public would have more access to it if it was, say, at Palm Bay City Hall, and that's still within the district, and they probably have better equipment, we could probably arrange something with them.
If you want to check, or if you want me to check, I can reach out to them and see if they're willing.
Yeah.
What do y'all prefer?
I think staff can take care of that.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
We'll schedule it.
Okay. All right. I'll go ahead and defer to staff, and unless you feel like you need a motion for any of that.
No, I hear where the board is on it. I mean, if you want to make a motion, that's fine, but
If
we'll
you're okay, I'm
move
okay.
forward with that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, going to close public comments. Going to move to board reports. County manager.
No report?
Oh, I'm sorry, I have Sandra Sullivan. Ms. Sullivan, you drop in here so often, you just kind of blend it in.
Sandra Sullivan, South Patrick Shores. So I have been helping the people over on Rockledge Drive, doing some of the research and helping them out. We received yesterday a letter from Commissioner Smith, a press release, as well as a few of the residents received a longer letter. I just wanted to say that it's always good to be transparent and forthcoming with the facts. And in the research I did in looking up, because I was in a conversation with one of the residents that they put in an advanced septic system on their property, we were talking about, impacts to the lagoon. And so I looked up to see whether that area qualified under the lagoon for that system. And I was shocked to find out that actually it has already been approved from septic to sewer. And so in this conversation, I'll say it's disingenuous, with these residents of Rockledge Drive saying this is just a resurfacing project, a repaving project, is simply not the case. These people were misled as to the real intent by the county, by our Commissioner Smith in addressing what the issues were on this property with trimming trees and cutting down trees, saying milling the road is going to cause root damage and to kill trees. And it simply isn't the case. My husband is a road and bridge engineer. He's a professional engineer, and it's simply not the case. And so, why would the trees be killed? So at no time, I confirmed this yesterday, were these residents informed of an intent by the county to actually put in a sewage system down the road. And that is actually what is at hand here for the destruction or expected to kill these trees. And I'm just wondering why, as a county commission, working in D4, working with these residents, are you not being forthcoming and honest with these residents? So that's my opinion on this. And one other thing I would say on the controversy pertaining to the FCT grants, Florida Communities Trust is a state agency. And I just want to say, in these entities that are pulled together and what I spoke, the city side of this, which I brought up in a zoning meeting, Liz Allward was the legislative aide to Jim Barfield. And I am very disturbed yesterday to find out that Mr. Smith has hired her husband as his executive assistant.
Thank you. Commissioner Tabaya?
Ms. Sullivan? Sorry. Help me here.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith, he was trying to hide stuff. He had a town hall meeting down there?
Yes.
Okay.
And that was
And he
not
sent
disclosed.
out a press release about the result, and ultimately, wasn't it on, and I'm not saying I agree or disagree with the decision one way or another, because that's moot at this point, but the outcome is one that you were helping to achieve, correct? Is that, it's a yes or a no? Are the trees getting cut down?
They will
or-
eventually.
But this
For the
was right
moment-
now.
Yeah, for the moment right now, yes.
Okay, so he had a town hall meeting, he
Yes.
sends out a press release, and the trees don't get cut down. And you think he's hiding stuff? And
There's a
Commissioner Smith,
misrepresentation, and they're saying that this is for repaving only, and that is not the case. There's an agenda here to,
okay, I'm sorry, I don't always agree with Commissioner Smith, but Mark Twain said something to the effect of, better, to be sit down and say nothing and be thought an idiot than open their mouth and be proven as such. And goodness gracious, it sounds like Commissioner Smith was working hard on the residents' behalf on which side you're on, and you're up here berating the man. And I think that probably should be limited to the people that are on the justifiably so on the other side, not on the same side, because I'm just wondering what happens next time, when you tend to, agree with him. Do you think, that's probably the best tack to take? And on top of that, I'd just spend more time, with my campaign than I would actually coming up here. So that's my 2 minutes. I listen to you over and over and over and over again. You just crossed a line, berating a commissioner that has gone above and beyond on this issue. And I'll tell you right now, I know I wasn't going to say this, but I disagree. I'm on the other side of Commissioner Smith on this one. I think for public safety, those trees need to come down. I think they need to come down immediately. But I'm sticking up for a commissioner that went above and beyond on this issue, far more than I would have ever gone.
You don't agree that there should be disclosure what the real intent is here?
What
Thank
the
you.
real intent, yeah. Good luck.
Okay. No talking out there. No talking.
Interrupting a meeting.
Yeah, sorry about that. County manager, you had no report, sir. County attorney?
Yes, Madam Chair. I'd just like to take an opportunity to introduce to the board members who don't already know Assistant County Attorney Alexander Esses. He's sitting to my left and in front of the clerks. He's been with our office since 2015, and he worked on the bulk of the items that are under H on your agenda today. Thank you.
Good job, sir. Thank you. Commissioner Lober?
Just real briefly, I want to give you all a heads up as to another item that's going to be coming. So the ARPA funds that we had divvied up where a certain percentage or a certain proportion were restricted to water infrastructure projects, as well as the portion that is less restricted, the smaller portion that's less restricted. I'm planning on bringing back an agenda item dealing almost exclusively, if not exclusively, with utilities that are at risk of spills or leaks, whether it's due to design, age, installation, or any other reason or reasons. So substantially, everything's going to go toward that. I also do plan on using, in addition to the money specifically limited to that and the discretionary over and above out of ARPA, some of the money that was left over in the CARES Act D2 bucket. There's about $500,000 potentially that can go toward that. What I've asked staff to do as far as putting that agenda item together, because I have no idea what construction costs are these days. It could be 20% under. I don't think that'll be the case. It could be 40% over, which is probably more likely than being 20% under. So what I'm going to ask to do coming up, just for you all to mull on in the meanwhile, is to put out for bids or put out for proposals a slew of different projects in D2 to see what the bids come back at or to see what the proposals come back at, and then determine from that list what I'm able to fund out of the funding sources that I have. So the list, if everything comes back, I'll never be able to afford it. But I'd like to be able to get all of it done in a quick, timely fashion. That's the way that I see being able to do it. Staff seem to think it was something that would work for them as well. So if you have any questions, I would just suggest when that item's up, you may want to discuss it with staff during your briefings. It's again, I just want to focus on the fact it's not that I anticipate that everything that's listed in there will take place, but a lot of it should. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Tobias?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As recently as yesterday, the Kaiser Foundation for Healthcare came out and said that COVID for unvaccinated patients had cost roughly $2.3 billion in healthcare costs for the last 2 months. And there have been some significant changes very recently. Those changes, as I'm sure you guys are very well aware of, the FDA had issued full approval for the Pfizer vaccine. There is a pretty healthy incentive out there for county employees right now, thanks to this board. The vaccine is readily available. And as recently as Saturday night, former President Trump at a rally in Alabama, of all places, encouraged his supporters and followers to get vaccinated. So the question is this, as we are self-insured, I'm not asking for a policy decision at all. I would just like the data to be collected, and I've spoken with Mr. Visco, and it sounds like they have a great deal of it already together. This would not be too timely in nature, but I would like to know what the costs borne by our self-insurance, which ultimately gets passed on to taxpayers, because you either look at this one of two ways, as socially conservative or fiscally conservative, and I tend to fall greatly on the latter. So there's hospitalization rates, there is additional leave, and its impact on our reserve totals that we would, of course, have to replenish with higher rates as the federal government is not filling this gap. So I'd just like to find out what that dollar amount is. So when we make budget decisions in the future, whether to increase rates, and remember, this goes not just to our employees, this would go to the Constitutional Office who have similar amounts, just to know what the impact is. And if we still decide to go in a direction that we're currently in, at least we go with our eyes wide open instead of shut. So the request is just to ask staff to give us as best as they can without too many man hours put forth what the cost is to our health plan for folks that are not vaccinated.
Madam Chair, I'm kind of struggling with this one, and I'm not trying to torpedo it, Commissioner Tobias. I really am not. I'm just trying to better understand if there's, either it's going to come back one way or another way. Let's say, for instance, it comes back and we find that there is a tremendous cost. What would we do at that point? My concern with gathering the data is if we're not going to do anything with the data, I wouldn't waste the time gathering it. If we have some idea in terms of what we might or might not do, assuming the data comes on either end of the scale, I'd just like to know what the end goal is before I support getting the data.
I think no matter what we do, even if we do nothing, knowing that we could potentially have a large impact to our reserve is extremely important. My interest in this is we are self-insured, meaning the taxpayers bear the burden of unvaccinated folks right now. And listen, this is pretty complicated. There's folks out there that are deciding postponing regular checkups because of this. So there may be long-term costs associated with this, but ultimately those are costs that the county commission must cover through taxation. And if we make a decision to do nothing, at least we know we will have to increase, increase the reserve at a later date.
And Commissioner Tobias, is there some way, or do you contemplate doing this in a way that would anonymize the health data? Because I don't know that I'm comfortable with the government, whether it's us or whether it's another level of the government, having records with specific individuals and whether or not they've received particular treatments for something where they have to answer. If it's an opt-in program, if they don't want to do it, fine, which is why I supported your other concept, because they don't have to do it if they don't want to. But for something like this, if someone doesn't want to disclose whether they've been vaccinated for whatever reason or for no reason at all, do they have the option of not disclosing it or disclosing it in a manner that guarantees that their name isn't going to be tied to a record that's potentially a public record indicating they have or have not been vaccinated?
Madam Chair, I certainly hope that HIPAA laws are not violated, and I have full faith in staff to make sure that in fact is the case.
If your motion contemplates staff gathering the data in a way that's anonymized, where at the end of the day, whatever we have isn't going to result in even the potential for a public record to be produced, indicating directly or otherwise an individual's vaccination status, I would support it. But if it doesn't contemplate that, I couldn't support it.
Madam Chair. Yeah, I certainly supported your, and I take it back, I may not have, your incentive program to the firefighters, the $75. And so I think I did, because that was part of the extra funds that you had. So that gave us a data set that was not individual, but was across that whole unit. So it's no different than what you've requested, or the result is of what you requested in the past.
The concern that I have again goes back to the fact that that was a voluntary program. If they didn't want to have anything to do with it, they didn't have to. This, on the other hand, we're saying we would apply to everyone, period, whether or not they want to participate. I just want to make sure that we safeguard their info.
This is gathering data, to be 100% clear. I'm not asking for any policy decision whatsoever. Zero policy decision.
That's not the concern I have, Commissioner Tobias. It comes down to what information will we have at the end of the day, and what if we receive a public records request will we have to produce, because I just don't feel comfortable supporting it. You may have enough support without me anyway, but unless I hear something included in the motion or the motion modified to ensure that that data is kept privileged or confidential, wherein even indirectly someone couldn't get a particular individual's vaccination status, I wouldn't support it otherwise.
Madam Chair, if you would like to put that in there, I think that would be completely, utterly, and totally redundant. But I guess that's what attorneys do a lot of the time is redundancy. I certainly think that
I just don't want there to be ambiguity. That's the concern.
And as Madam Chair, your program, the $75, was that done anonymously? So we only have the aggregate. We don't know which folks, or would we be able to look up which firefighters?
I do believe that it was done in a manner that's not anonymized. But again, the difference is that's a voluntary program versus something that you're saying they have to participate in. That's the real difference to me.
I'm not asking. Again, this is data. This is a data set that we currently have. This
for a subsection of our employees.
I think we're going around.
Yeah,
we are. Commissioner Lobert, I get your point about protecting their privacy. So, Commissioner Pai, I think you also made the point that you're not wanting to expose their privacy. Just
absolutely. It would have nobody's name attached to this, Madam Chair.
I think data always helps you make good decisions. Wisdom's power. So I'm fine with getting some data. If nothing else, we have to know what we might have to presume to put into the budget next year if we don't do anything different. Frank, you're looking at me like you have something to say.
Yeah, the information we would get would be from our insurance carriers, and they will not, excuse me, they will not be providing us names associated with any of the costs that they bring forward to us in any kind of request that we make of that nature.
I appreciate that. I'll go ahead and support it just based on that assurance.
Do we need a motion for this? Are you guys good with doing it with our consent?
I think it's clear staff will be able to get the data as it's requested based on the board dialogue.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Commissioner Smith, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And sliding right into that vaccination item that Commissioner Tobias was talking about, I just wanted to let you folks know that the vaccination rates currently throughout the state list Brevard County as being 63% vaccinated of those people that are eligible, which makes us 17th out of 67, which means we're doing extremely well as opposed to a lot of other counties. There's counties that have gotten as high as 85%, which is Miami-Dade, and there are counties that are as low as 35%, which is Liberty County. There's a lot of those between 30 and 40%. So we've done very, very well at 63%. And also one other item that is important, I think, to this county and statewide is unemployment rates. Brevard County's current unemployment rate is 4.4%, which makes us 15th out of 67 counties. So we're doing extremely well with that as well. So I think this board can pat themselves on the back as well as our employers in the county. We've done a very good job of encouraging business in this county, and I think that should be recognized.
Good data, sir. Thank you.
One other thing that I have, Dwayne DeFreeze, I know an awful lot of people have an interest in how he's doing. His most recent text to me says it's been 3 weeks since his last chemo. He's still dealing with severe chemo side effects, including shoulder and tricep numbness and muscle weakness and atrophy and searing nerve pain. He's hoping symptoms will soon subside, although he said that his team of doctors are a bit perplexed at these symptoms. So continue saying
for
prayers for him.
Certainly, sir. Thank you. Mr. Zonka, before you bring your board report, I do want to publicly thank you for all the work you've been doing on this COVID situation lately. We had a massive outbreak, and Commissioner Zonka has been putting in many, many, many hours trying to keep our community safe and alive. And ma'am, I just wanted to publicly say thank you for that, ma'am.
Thank you. Honestly, it's an honor to help those folks when I am able to. They're the heroes. They're the superheroes in the trenches. But I guess, I wasn't going to bring it up, but I think everybody sort of talked about the vaccine at this point enough. And, a lot of people ask me medical advice on things. And it's, of course, I'd like to think that I have enough of an educational background to speak openly, honestly, and give my opinion. So I don't do this as an employee of anybody. I do this as a human being who happens to be a nurse practitioner with a doctorate degree and knows a little bit about science and a little bit about what I've observed and seen in the hospitals. And if this COVID hasn't affected you or your family yet, it will. What I saw in the hospital was tragic. It was sad. It was unlike anything I'd prepared myself for. So, I don't believe for a second I'm going to convince anybody to get a vaccine that doesn't want to do it. And I know that, everybody seems to think there's some government conspiracy and they're trying to poison you, and I saw an interview, and it's kind of funny that if you believe the government was trying to poison you, why would they poison the sheeple, right? I mean, why would they poison the people that comply, which I thought was kind of an interesting take on it. But, I'm glad that Pfizer got FDA approved. The vaccine doesn't change your DNA, so that's absurd. Over 95%, 94 to 98% since this started in the hospital are unvaccinated. So if that doesn't prove to you that being vaccinated is helpful on surviving COVID, and yes, you can still get COVID. This Delta is more contagious. You get sicker quicker and harder. But do the responsible thing. If you're on the fence, just please consider it. Please consider that you may be protecting your neighbor, somebody who can't get the vaccine. And I don't like to push my personal agenda on anybody. I've seen family members on the same floor where another one in ICU died, and you've got a mother and son on the same unit and who have to deal with that when they get released. And they got released, but they're going home without their father and their husband. So I've seen it affect perfectly healthy people. And I can't imagine anything more scary than struggling to breathe and having to be alone in the hospital because you can't have visitors. Yeah. So think about that for a moment. You have the potential to die. You can't breathe, which is horrifying enough to envision yourself in that situation. And you can't even have a family member there to help you or talk to you or give you comfort. So again, my impact is probably minimal, but I was glad to be able to help my brothers and sisters in the trenches. Those guys are doing it every day. They're working hard. They're stepping up to the plate and doing what they were called to do. And they do it with compassion. They do it with heart, and they do it with expertise and with synchrony and helping each other. And again, it's an environment I never thought that I would experience, but I just want to thank those healthcare workers that do it every day. So that's it.
Amen.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. On that note, I work at a church. It's my real life job, and we have a daycare there. And I got to tell you, 75% of the employees there were not vaccinated. They were young, and they all got COVID. And when I would call them up to check on them, we were taking them food and stuff. They were all in a lot of pain. And every one of them said, I wish I would have got vaccinated. This is a really painful virus. And I would never, ever vote to mandate somebody had to have a vaccine or has to take a drug. But you know what? We make our own choices and decisions by what we do with our lifestyle, how we eat, what we do. And if you don't take the vaccine, you have to make the choice, but you also have to live with the consequences. So you have to decide that. I get it. But as Commissioner Dr. Zonka just said right now, if you're on the fence with it, if you've been thinking about it, from what I've had to have eyes on witnessing, I would get it. I got one because I watched my family get it during the holidays, and it's painful. And there's such risk with having the COVID. if there's risk with the vaccine, I think it's a lot less than actually getting this virus. It's not a nice virus, and how long it takes to recover on many people is just pray about it and think about it. But again, I would never force it on you. I don't think it's my job to make medical decisions for you. That would be between you and your doctor, which I'm going to segue right now into the fluoride with this, if I may. Somehow back in past history, it became appropriate for government boards to make decision on people getting a mass medication of fluoride. And you can't say it's not a drug. Walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. It's a duck. And the FDA actually classifies this as a unapproved drug because it treats a medical condition. So if you put it within that, how 5 government people or 7 or how many's on a board got to make that decision, it boggles my mind that it ever happened, especially since there's people who don't want it in their bodies. So I think on a constitutional level, something's not right there, and it never should have happened, but we ended up in this mess. Now, I believe I'm in contact with my community, and I hear from my community often through the years about the fluoride issue. When I was on the city of Titusville, it came up, and it got shot down very quickly at the time, but there's always been an issue of fluoride. I have thyroid problems, and whether you decide I don't know what I'm talking about or not, I do know that fluoride mimics iodine, and it screws up my thyroid gland. I can't have it personally. If you want it, you know what? I will support your right to have it if you want it, but I know in my body it causes havoc. Titusville never gave me a choice when they put it in, or I would have done a loud no, because I don't want that medication put into my body. And then people say, if you don't want it, go get your water somewhere else. Well, I'm sorry, the Indian River Lagoon has some salt in it and you can't drink it. Such as silly reasonings that come after. But here's the thing, and I really believed I heard from my community before I brought it up at this commission. We voted 5-0 to remove the fluoride. And granted, it was because it was the last part of Brevard County in my district, because the other part of Brevard County, we do not put fluoride in the water. So now Brevard County water does not have fluoride in it, except for the naturally occurring fluoride, which is between 0.2 and 0.3%. Naturally occurring is a whole lot different than the stuff we put in. The stuff we put in is a byproduct of a fertilizer company. It is not pure fluoride. And it's probably not the best for you to have, but if you want it and you go to the store to get it, you might have a better product, but I do believe it's good for your teeth. With my whole heart, I do. I use it in the toothpaste. I believe it in the rinses. But as far as me drinking it, it causes damage. So you even have a percentage of the community that's damaged from drinking this stuff. Why are you forcing them to have it? And if you don't have money, you're talking about, treating the poor. Well, number one, I was a poor mother in MIMS for a long time. And I resent that people are telling me I was too ignorant because I didn't have money to know how to take care of my children. I knew how to brush their teeth. They didn't have cavities, and MIMS didn't have fluoride at the time, but that's a whole nother subject on that. But people know how to take care of their children. And if we still have children right now with this problem and they're on fluoridated water, we need to figure out how to get the education to these children or whatever we need to do to help them with these problems. I do agree there's a problem, but this isn't the path to do it. So I want to also bring up the fact that since there was a big outcry at the time, and I didn't want, these guys getting pulled into it because they believed that I understood my community. I did too. I decided to have a public meeting in MIMS. I had 300 people show up. I only had 20 MIMS water service customers. I had the lobbying groups. I had people from all over the state of Florida. I had head of the Fluoride Commission, and I let everybody speak. It was a wonderful, informative evening, but I didn't get the input from the community that I wanted. So I chose to send out a survey card, which other commissioner from the seat had done in the past to decide if they were putting it into the water. He had a good response of people wanting it. So I thought, well, I'm going to do this just in case I missed it. And there's a whole sect of the MIMS water service customers I haven't heard from. And I sent this out and I made it clear on the thing. I need 2/3 a majority of all the water service customers saying they want this medication put back in the water for me to bring it back to this board and see if I could talk them into wanting to put it back in. And I know I put that out there. So if they didn't want it, don't say anything. I know I gave that option, but I really wanted to hear a yes. And in my heart, I thought, well, if at least 51% came back, I need to bring to this board and see what they did. But I've only had 24% of the MEMS water service customers sending back a card saying they want it. And this is after the fluoride people have spent thousands of dollars down there. There's billboards, they've been making robocalls. So I know the information has been getting out there, and the response has not come back with them wanting the fluoride in. So I'm very confident in what we're doing here. I left it open another 4 weeks just in case. And I have all the numbers, be glad to give it to you. I'm easy to reach. I give out my cell phone number on the radio. I mean, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. So I don't want to keep doing this to this commission meeting after meeting. I might write up a script in case people want to know it. Maybe I'll do another letter to the newspaper, but at the end of the 4 weeks, I'm going to send out a letter to the community and let them know what happened, what came in. But again, I don't want to force anything on my community, nor do I want to take away anything that the community wants. But they didn't clearly tell me that they wanted this. And I don't want fluoride to just be tolerated. I want it to be wanted if we are going to do a mass medication to the people. Again, if you want it, I will fight for your right to have what you want. But if people don't want it, which is a big percentage of people these days, and you can line this up with COVID. What if we decided to mandate you had to have a COVID shot? Not only that, you're going to take the one we give you, and we're going to give you the one that's not approved. Well, that's what this fluoride is we're putting in. It's an unapproved drug. And I don't know that any county government should have the right to do this. And when this first started, someone called me up and said, hey, you shouldn't be making medical decisions. And my thought was, you are not wrong on that. And I don't know how we ever got in this spot. This board shouldn't be making medical decisions. We should not be putting medications into a community water system. Where will it stop? You know, as far as I'm concerned, for you guys could use a little extra estrogen. And it's something I would like to have. I wouldn't have to pay for it. That's what I'm saying. You guys, everybody wants their thing done to everybody else, but don't mess with the things I don't want. This is not government's position to do this. So, ma'am, thank you for the kind comments at the beginning, but that's where we are at this. I've got a few more weeks to see if they come back. Again, I have not have people respond to me saying they want it back in. And I have done out communication. We did a free mail back with it. So I think the information's out there, and I have not had the response. So commissioners, I will try my best not to have you hear my soap opera thing here anymore, but thank you for your tolerance with it.
Madam Chair,
Good job.
Yes, sir.
how do you really feel?
Well, I just want to make sure everybody knew everything, right? I'm not hiding anything. You know what? I have no problem being wrong if I'm wrong. I just don't think this was wrong. Well, I know this wasn't wrong this time. So on that, I'm going to call this meeting adjourned.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners